Today we have a lot to cover. We are going to record the session, so if you want to go back and review it or share it with your colleagues, we're glad for you to do that. We will share with you how to access that after the meeting. So today I really want to start with just a demo of how to use Career Fair Plus to both create your schedules, but also how to make changes if you've already created a schedule and you decide that you want to make some changes. If you have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat. I think Valerie and Kim and Corey will be checking on those while I'm presenting and talking. So let me go ahead and get my screen shared. You should have already received an email directly from Career Fair Plus to invite you to create an account or log in and join this Career Fair. So if you do not yet have an email from Career Fair Plus with instructions on how to log in, please put your email address in the chat and then we can follow up with you afterwards to make sure to get you that invitation. So step one is you need to have a login. So you know that you used Handshake to register for the event, but Career Fair Plus is the platform that you'll actually use up to and during the Education Career Fair. So it's really the Career Fair platform where Handshake was mostly the registration and payment platform. So when you first are ready to get into Career Fair Plus, you can either follow the link in that registration email, or you can go to app.careerfairplus.com. And then from there, your instinct is to search. And so you can do that. You can search for SONC or Southwest Ohio, Northern Kentucky Education Career Fair. And this will give you very much the student perspective or the candidate perspective. So you can look at the event from here. You can see the registered organizations and explore how that will look for a candidate who is searching through this event and thinking about what employers they want to meet with. But for you to access it from a recruiter perspective, you're going to want to click on this My Fairs in the upper right-hand corner. So you can do that from this screen where we've already gotten into the Career Fair, or from that original main screen, app.careerfairplus.com. You can click on this My Fairs to access the fairs that are connected to your account. So if you have multiple career fairs that you're connected with, you would see all of those here. Now I have to show you on a demo site, so that's why it's this virtual demo fair instead of the Education Career Fair, but you should see all of the events that you are connected with. So from here, you will open the career fair that you want to edit. So you can really just click on it anywhere, and that's going to open up that unique fair. So if you have already created schedules, you will see them listed here. But if you're just getting started, this green bar, what can we help you get done today, is really the place to get started. So if you open up this green bar, it's going to give you the things that you are most likely to want to do at this point. So you may want to edit your profile. Often you want to invite another recruiter. So you would just click on this and then you'll be prompted to put in the email address for someone else at your organization. And then this invite recruiter turns green and you can click that and it will send them an invitation through the system. If you're not sure if someone has already been invited, feel free to invite them again. If you invite someone who's already got an account, the system will not create duplicate accounts. It will know this email address is already associated with an account and it will make that connection. So unless you're putting in a different email address for someone, as long as you're putting in kind of their normal business address, then it will make that connection and understand that that recruiter is the same person. So next you want to either create a schedule for yourself or potentially you're creating a schedule for someone else on your team. So you would just click on the appropriate button there. It will ask you if you want to create either a group schedule or a one-on-one schedule. Oh, first, of course, you need to tell it who you want to invite. So if you're creating it for yourself, you would click that button, Amanda Meeker, that's me. If you want to create it for someone new, you could type in their email address. If you had other recruiters associated with your account, they would also be listed here. Or you could skip that if you want to create a schedule right now, but you're not sure exactly who's going to be assigned to it, you could add that later. So then it's going to ask you if you want one-on-one schedules or group schedules. I would say that our candidates are primarily expecting one-on-one meetings, and so this is what we would recommend, but a mixture of these is also nice. With the one-on-one schedules, you will be limited to, a set number of time slots, and that will basically be the number of candidates that you could meet with if every time slot is full. Where with a group schedule, you could potentially meet with, 5 or 10 students at a time who are coming into a group session. So we encourage you to think carefully about which of these you are doing. This fair is also unique because it's a full day fair. And so I do not encourage you to make yourself a group schedule for the full day, because that means you'll be sitting in that video room all day waiting for candidates to pop in. So I would say that we recommend mostly one-on-one with maybe interspersed, maybe 1 hour group sessions. It's really up to you how you want to run that. But I'd encourage you to really think about, what will that experience be like? If I set a group session that's 3 hours, that means I'm waiting for 3 hours to see if candidates pop in because they're not scheduled. Where for the one-on-one, they will be booked ahead of time. So let's suppose we're creating a one-on-one schedule. It's already selected because it's recommended. I would not recommend that you require candidates to be invited. It's not really the structure of this fair, so we really encourage you to not check that box. So the next you'll see is taking us to schedule details. So the schedule name is what candidates will see when they're choosing which of your schedules they want to sign up for. So generally speaking, from the event, they can see the list of employers and they can filter by what you put on your original career fair profile in Handshake or when you updated us. But the schedule name is where you could differentiate. If you have different people who are interviewing for different types of positions, you could put in here, science middle teacher or middle school teacher. You could put in here whatever you want, but this is what candidates are going to see when they're determining which of your schedules they want to open. You can also then here put a more robust description. So you could put in here maybe something about your district. They will have your company profile, but this might be a nice way to provide more information about that particular position or the group of positions that you are using for this schedule. So they certainly don't need to be this specific. I think a lot of people are just putting in here, certified teachers for Ohio school district. So whatever makes sense to you, but this is what the candidates are going to see. The schedule date will automatically populate with the date of the career fair. And then the interaction type will automatically populate with the embedded Career Fair Plus video room. So this is the video functionality that's built into the Career Fair Plus platform. So if you want to use that, you don't need to do anything else here. It already has that built in and it already has instructions for the candidate. But if you would prefer to use a different format, if you want to do a phone call instead, you want to have only phone conversations instead of video, you have that option. Or if you prefer to use an external link, maybe your school district uses Zoom and you're really happy with that, you could put in another link and then you would just provide instructions in the link in this additional instructions section. So this is the high level detail of the schedule. What is this schedule for? What's the description? What's the date? And how will candidates meet with me? But then you're going to get into building the actual schedule. So the system will automatically populate with the full fair date and time, and then it will automatically populate with 10-minute appointments. So if you want to keep 10-minute appointments, it will automatically build a schedule for you with 5 10-minute appointments every hour and 1 10-minute break at the top of every hour. So you can go in, and if you want to build in additional breaks, maybe you would like to have a little bit more than 10 minutes at lunchtime, you could build in a break for yourself. Maybe you need to do something at 5 o'clock, and so you want to block the 4:50. You can make any changes to the schedule if you want. Now, you may be feeling like 10 minutes is not enough. We know that a lot of our employers would like to use this time for longer interviews rather than short career fair conversations. So if you want to change this to 15 or 20 minutes, whatever you'd like, you can just type that into this time slot duration and then click apply changes, and it's going to automatically update your schedule with those selections. Now, I will warn you that it will always build in a break at the top of the hour. And so for 20 minutes schedule, times on the day of the event, if you have a meeting or you need a restroom break and you have a blank time, you could certainly block those. Once you feel comfortable with the schedule that you've created, you're going to click Next. Everyone else is frozen on my screen. Am I still here for you?
Amanda, I can hear you just fine, but you are frozen.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay, but my screen and audio are okay. Sorry.
Yeah, your audio is good and we can see what you're sharing. So.
Okay, great. My face is the least important part of all of this. So once you have your schedule created, you have the option to set prerequisites. This is not the same as just communicating what you would like for your candidates to have as their qualifications. This is actually going to limit the candidates who can sign up on your schedule. So if you want to do that, you can click Enable Prerequisites, and then you will have some options that you can choose from. These options are different because we're in this demo career fair, but you would have some options that you could select from to limit the candidates who can sign up with you. If your school district is open to a variety of things, maybe you don't have prerequisites, then I would encourage you to leave this blank. That means anyone who's interested could sign up with you and have a conversation. But that's up to you. If you want to set prerequisites, you can do that. And then you can always monitor and see, are people signing up with us? Is our schedule filling up? Then you'll know that it's going well. Sometimes we find that people set these prerequisites to be really strict, and then later they find that their schedule didn't fill up because there weren't enough candidates who met their qualifications to sign up. So I'd encourage you to just leave that open, but it's up to you. You may have some important things that you need candidates to be able to demonstrate to show that they're qualified. So then next, you'll go into basically a final review screen where you can go through and look at your schedule again. You can look at all of your details, and then you can click Publish, and then it shows for candidates to review. So candidates can start scheduling appointments on March 17th at 4 p.m. So this is why we've asked you to create your schedules by Friday, the 12th, so that candidates will have the weekend and early next week to review the schedules, create their profile, think about who they would like to meet with, and start kind of making their plans for when they're signing up. If you discover that you need to make changes to one of your schedules before the scheduling window opens for candidates, you can do that. You can see on this, so the one I created today, the science middle school teacher, is on here, but I also have these other schedules. So if I wanted to make this one 0 out of 35 booked, if I wanted to go in and make changes to that, I could do that by just opening that fair, clicking schedule options, and then edit schedule times. And again, I could change these from 10 minutes into, maybe this schedule I want to have be 15 minutes. So you could do that. It'll recreate the schedule, and then you just have to make sure that you save that at the end. So if you have schedules that you've created with maybe 10 minutes and you want to change those to be longer, you can still make that change right now because no one has signed up for your meetings. Once the scheduling window opens, we expect a lot of candidates to log in on that very first day, the evening of the 17th, and schedule the majority of the appointments on that day. So it's really important that your schedule be pretty much set by that point, although you could always add more options. If your schedule fills up on the 17th and 18th and you want to add another person, you could add an additional schedule, but you'd miss out on some of the students from the 17th who may not log in again. This is also where you would go when you are ready to test your technology. So we recommend testing the video room before the day of the career fair, because if there's a problem, we would need a little bit of time to resolve that problem. So all you do to test it is click this join meeting button. You open your schedule, you get into join meeting. It's the big blue button. This will open the video platform, as well as there's a little microphone icon that moves when you talk, so that you can test both the audio and the video in that room. I won't do it now because my computer is using my webcam for Zoom, so it would be really confused about that. I do also want to show you for a past fair. Let me see. So this Amanda's schedule on Friday, January 1st here. So this is what it will look like for you after the fair is over. I just want to show you that you can go back and review your candidates afterwards. You can either export a list of all of your candidates, or if you wanted, you could open up their profile again. You could see their resume. This is a colleague of mine, so it's just a sample account, but you would see her resume listed in here. So you can review all of these and also rate the candidate or mark for yourself whether you want them to move forward to the next step. None of this is seen by our staff or by the student. You can also mark them as a no-show, so that does come through to our staff so that we know that we need to follow up with that candidate if they have no-showed an employer. But that is basically what it looks like for you if you want to go back and review your candidates after the event. You will have a recruiter profile in the system, but candidates don't have full access to that. So they can't see your phone number and your email address and that kind of information. They do have a link to your LinkedIn if you put that in your profile. So if you want to share your contact information with the candidates that you're meeting with, you would want to plan to do that either just talking with them in the video conversation, or you could also put into the chat in the video room, you can follow up with me at this email address, etc. I do want to talk about a couple of other things. Let me open up that science middle school teacher schedule. So from the schedule options, you can copy the link to the room. So these one-on-one meetings can have up to 4 individuals in the video room. So if you want to invite a colleague to join you and have 2 recruiters for each candidate, you would want to share with them the recruiter video room link, because that would give them host privileges. They could share their screen, they could add notes, they could rank the candidates, etc. But if you, for some reason, wanted to share a link with a candidate, maybe someone applies through your website and you want to invite them to come into your room at a specific time, you would want to share with them the candidate booking link, because that would be the candidate link instead of giving a candidate the host privileges that you would give to a colleague. So the room is essentially set up with the idea that you would join the meeting at the beginning, and you, the recruiter, will stay in that room the whole time. And then at designated intervals, when it's time, the candidate will knock on the room. And so you'll see a message, you know, Jane Doe has knocked, and then you will admit that person into the room. So you'll also have the option to put them on hold. So if you're still finishing up with the previous candidate, you can put the next candidate on hold, wrap up with your first candidate, and then admit the second candidate into the room. I think that that's everything that I had planned to talk about. So if you have questions, I'd encourage you to put them in the chat. There may already be some questions in the chat.
Amanda, there are a couple that I thought I'd go ahead and mention to you. One of those related to engaging with candidates after the event and access to their resumes, which I think that you addressed. But is there anything, the question was relating to a resume book, which I know is not available, but accessing those candidates' resumes post-fair that engaged with the employer are accessible, correct?
Correct. So if a candidate is on your schedule for a one-on-one, or if they sign up for a group session with you, you will have access to their resume. Both, you could go to the schedule and click on that person's name and see their resume right there. Or when you export a list of your meetings, that will be an Excel spreadsheet. And embedded in that spreadsheet will be a link to an electronic copy of their resume. So you don't have to go through one-on-one and look at them. You could also go through your spreadsheet and click the links to open them.
Thank you, Amanda. The next question related to deleting schedules. The employer asking said that she was having trouble deleting a schedule and wanted to know what other options there might be for blocking out times.
Great question. So let's suppose that I need to delete this test schedule for Amanda. Of course, these all have my name, but you see that this is in the future and there's no one signed up on it. So I believe that you could go to edit schedule times. This is a good question about whether you actually have a delete. Probably the most efficient thing for you to do would be to just block all of them as breaks. If you know you need to cancel a room, then you could block all of them as breaks and then let us know and we can cancel the schedule. I know that for sure. Or let me see if in the details, it doesn't look like there is, that populated really strangely, so I don't get the sense that you can delete it. But yeah, that's a good question. I would say if you know you need to delete a schedule, block everything as, mark everything as a break so that you know no one will be scheduling. Or if it's now when the scheduling window is not open, you could just let us know. And I know that the fair organizers, like Valerie and I, could delete those schedules for you. One thing to also keep in mind is if you have partial schedules, so let's suppose you have two recruiters coming and they both have a few appointments here and there, but neither of them are full. There is not a way to combine these schedules or to move candidates from one to another. So you could potentially have one person move back and forth to a different room if you wanted to still provide the candidates with a seamless experience. Or another option would be to delete a fair, which is essentially canceling on the candidates who are on that schedule and then asking them to sign up on the other schedule. So that's probably the riskiest because there's always the chance that those candidates won't get back on your schedule. Candidates can continue to schedule appointments leading up to and through the day of the fair. So I know at NKU, one of the things we found was that some candidates will schedule a couple of appointments, and then as they gain confidence, they start thinking, well, maybe I could have a couple more of these. That wasn't as scary as I thought. And so sometimes they'll schedule more appointments throughout the day. Another thing that happens is sometimes, if a candidate that day realizes, oh, I need to, do something at lunchtime, they could move their appointment from one time to another time if you have openings on your schedule. So that means that for an employer, you will need to be monitoring your schedule throughout the day as more people may be signing up. And the same is true of group sessions, that if you have a group meeting open, you'll need to be kind of in that room. You could turn off, the camera if you wanted to.
Yes. So next question was how do we know when a candidate schedules an appointment with the employer? Is there a notification of that?
That's a great question. There is not a notification. So you will be looking at the schedule to see if people have signed up with you. The candidates I know get an email confirmation as soon as they schedule an appointment, and then also the day before they get like a summary of all of their appointments. But for the recruiters, the assumption is that you would want to get into the system and see your list of candidates when it works in your schedule. So I would certainly encourage you to do that before just the morning of the fair to see when you'll be busy. We will be trying to keep an eye on the schedules that are filling up so that we can let you know if all of your times are full. Likewise, we'll be trying to keep an eye on schedules that are not filling up so that we can promote that there are openings with those employers to our candidates. But the more that you're doing for that as well, the better the traffic will be managed.
Okay. So kind of a follow-up to that. Is it important to continually refresh your screen to see the additional appointments, or is that something that will automatically show?
That's a great question. And I don't actually know the answer to that. I think that they are designed to just refresh for you. Or I know when I update other things in Career Fair Plus, it will sometimes give me a notice and say, there's new information. Do you want to refresh? But it wouldn't hurt to refresh once in a while.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. Couple more questions. One question is relating to assigning a schedule to another recruiter. Do they have to accept the invitation in order for their name to show in the assigned recruiter area?
They will still show up. That's a good question. So if you add a recruiter, they will still show up with, at least with their email address. I don't know that their name shows up, but their email address would show up, and it will just say like not joined for you as an admin. If you are creating schedules for your colleagues and you are willing to go the extra mile for them, you could potentially assign schedules to people who never join, and you could send them the host link and they could join.
All right. I'm afraid that we may have lost Amanda. We've had some connectivity issues today, and I'm sorry about that, everyone. But why don't I go on ahead? I know it is 2:30, so anyone who needs to go, certainly feel free. But there were a couple of questions I knew might take just a little bit more time to address. So one of those relating to engaging with candidates before the event in order to kind of drum up interest in scheduling with the employer. And so we're going to actually follow up after this session with a recording and also another couple of resources. And we'll try to provide some tips relating to that within that follow-up. So since that's kind of a lengthier discussion, I thought it might be most helpful to follow up to everyone, including those who haven't been able to attend with some of those tips. And then the other questions that are in the chat we weren't able to get to, we'll also, I'm going to readmit Amanda here, we'll also try to address those in our follow-up communication as well. And then Amanda, are you back? There you are.
I'm back. I'm so sorry. I don't know what is going on with my internet today.
So Amanda, just to kind of catch you up while you were out, we just addressed that a couple of questions in the chat. We're going to try to follow up with the entire group since I know some had to leave, and I think there's some really good tips we can share about engaging with candidates before the event. And then also the other questions, I'm happy to read those for those who are able to stick around, but we can also address those in a post-session communication. So we had another question relating to a schedule that's already been created and if that can be assigned to another recruiter.
Yes, and let me share. Maybe best if I don't, internet-wise. But yeah, in there, you can just go in and if you open the schedule, you should see the recruiters, and then you can just assign it to, if you need to add a new recruiter, you can put in an email address and click assign this recruiter. Or if you have other people in your list of recruiters, you could just select from them and assign it to someone new.
And then I think last quick question, when an applicant schedules an appointment, will the employer know the type of position they're applying for, or will they need to see the resume?
It depends a bit. The candidate profile will have some information about the candidate's certification and the type of position that they are looking for, but candidates could choose multiple options. If we think about maybe a December of 2020 grad, they might be looking for a summer position, but also, something for right now, but also something for next year. So their profile should give you a good indication of what they're looking for and the certification that they will be seeking or have already. Plus, if your schedules are specific, then you would know from which schedule they sign up on. But you may have more general schedules just for the whole district, in which case you may not know exactly what they're looking for when you first meet with them.
Thanks, Amanda. The other topic that, once again, I plan to follow up with the entire group about is just engaging with candidates prior to the event. Amanda, do you have any advice from the Career Fair Plus perspective that you might be able to share with the group?
I would say that in Career Fair Plus, the more you can do to make your schedule and your description of your schedule showcase exactly what you're looking for, the better. I would encourage you to set very few prerequisites, if any, as that will really limit who is allowed to sign up with you. And then I'd also really encourage you to look at your employer profile. So for a candidate, they can search through the list of employers with some filters that are connected to basically the company profile. And some of that information might be from your 2020 registration if you haven't given us an update. So I would encourage you to take a look at that and just make sure that it's up to date and that it's reflective of your hiring needs now, because a lot of students will filter the companies or the organizations by using those company filters, and then those are the schedules that they'll look at. And so if your schedules and your employer profile don't match, then sometimes you'll have kind of the wrong students looking at your schedules. With over 100 employers, it's too much to think that a candidate would go through every employer and look at their schedules individually and see what they have available. So I would say just really thinking carefully about how you have it set up, maybe even download the app or access it as a student and think about, how you would approach it as a candidate or as a student, and then make sure that you are popping up in the searches that you think you should pop up in.
Okay, I think that gets us through all the questions. There was a lot of activity in there, so I apologize if I missed anyone. But want to just also just remind the group, if you have not received that Career Fair Plus scheduling link, if you'll please put in the chat your email address. We will follow up after the session with that link to you.
Great. Well, we'll stick around for a minute if there are any last questions, but otherwise, thank you all for being here and thank you for your time. And I'm sorry about my crazy internet this last half hour.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.
Hi, it's Lamika from Columbus City Schools. How are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good, thank you for asking. I was just gonna say about assigning the schedules. Thank you for answering the question about deleting the one schedule. But I was hoping maybe I could assign that schedule to another recruiter as opposed to myself. But when I go to assign it, it won't let me assign it to anyone. So like when I click, well, it says no assigned recruiter. I guess I could put that because the other schedule that I did place a recruiter in, that their name is not showing up, even though I assigned it to them. And I didn't know. I don't know. Can I share my screen so you can see what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
thinking maybe if you click to, I said yes, but I don't know if you can.
She's like, I said yes, but I don't even know if you can.
Oh,
Oh,
I
it's
think
allowing
I'm
me.
seeing what
Yeah,
you're
it's
saying.
gonna allow me. to share. Okay.
Did you say you're unable to share? Oh, did you get there? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
So, all right. So, here it is right here. And then I did invite Bonnie, but she hasn't accepted. So when I click assign, it just still keeps saying no name
Oh,
available.
yes, I'm so glad that you shared your screen. So this is not the same as recruiter not assigned. This just means they don't know her name because you only put in her email address and she'll have to put in her name when she creates her profile.
That okay. So they have to accept the invitation and create the profile. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I feel that better. That was my last question. Thank you.
Feel better too.
Okay, I'll stop sharing. My apologies.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Okay, bye.
I just wanted to double check. So we only need the handshake account whenever we first start, but in order to create your schedule and participate, we only need to log in to the create our schedule type thing.
Correct, yeah. So you may have just one person that uses Handshake, but then the people attending are the ones who need to be in Career Fair Plus.
Because the person that created handshake won't even be there with us.
Yeah,
So,
and that's okay.
okay.
The only thing that you'll use Handshake for is obviously when you registered and then to submit your payment. So aside from that, you'll be fully into Career Fair Plus.
Great. I appreciate that. Thank you. And you will email us the link to this because we had some questions and y'all did a great job. I think you answered all of them. I think it's going to be easier for me to send a recording for them to look at because y'all did a better job than I'm going to be able to.
Yes, definitely.
Joseph, if you haven't already, could you just plug your email address into the chat just so that we'll have record of that? It's connected with your email and we can then follow up after the session.
I'm sorry, did you want me to put in my email?
If you need the scheduling link, then yes, if you'll just plug your email address into the chat, that'll have a record of that and we can follow up.
No, I meant the link for this recording.
Oh, got it. Yep, absolutely. We'll follow up with that after.
Thank you
then,
so much.
Amanda, there was another question in the chat from Vanessa. It says, does the recruiter have their own login? For instance, I created the schedule, but I'm not attending the fair. I was not sure how to send the link to them to log in or create an account.
Yeah, so Vanessa, when you first log in, you'll click on the "What can we help you get done today?" bar at the top of the screen. And then you'll have an option, invite another recruiter. And then once you click that, you can put in their email address and the system will automatically send them an invitation email. Or you could also put their email in the chat right now, and then we'll make sure that they get an invitation.
All right, I think that gets us through all of the chat questions. So unless there are any others.
I do, I'm sorry, I think I just have one more, sorry. So I know that applicants have to apply beforehand or they need for the one-on-one sessions. So the way we have it is we have like 3 recruiters that are going to be there. So I'm going to take a session, they're going to take some time in there. So the question is just so that we make sure that people everyone's there and accounted for, do they have to schedule it, but then they can schedule throughout the day? Can they just pop in or does it have to be scheduled and accepted?
Yeah, good question. So candidates need to schedule their meetings ahead of time. And so it's not really an application. So there's no need for you all to select who you're meeting with. Anyone who meets your prerequisites can sign up with you, and then they would appear at that time. If they're adding things that day, they would put themselves onto your schedule. So if you have, let's say it's 2:42 and you have an opening at 3 o'clock, I could sign up for that 3 o'clock. So if you have something else that's come up, you would need to block that time as a break so that you don't have candidates popping onto that schedule. The difference with that would also be group schedules, that in a group schedule, candidates can appear anytime during that time with a limit of 50 people in that video room. So I think now maybe we've reached the end of the questions. Thank you all for being engaged and active listeners with good questions.
Thank you, Amanda. This was really helpful.
Hi, I'm Amanda. Hi, my name's Ray. Sorry. I have a question, but it's a random off the wall question that I don't want to hold everyone else up for. So, if you were going to conclude, great. If you could hold on for like 5 minutes afterwards, that would be great.
Sure.